Next favorite book is The Dip by Seth Godin. Shout out to Seth Godin. You know I love you and I love your work. Seth Godin is a powerhouse when it comes to us branding ourselves and showing up in a certain way. His background is in marketing, but then expanded really quickly. I want to say about a decade and a half ago to personal branding. Personal branding for a lot of us creatives makes us cringe. But personal branding is basically, let's see if I can paraphrase him correctly. A brand isn't a logo, but it's a promise. What promise are you making to the people that you serve? If you're not fulfilling that promise, then you do not have a consistent brand. End quote. The Dip is perhaps my favorite book of his, and that's a hard decision. I have five of his books on my shelves right behind me. I got more in the back. The Dip is fantastic. Number one, it is super short. I don't have it physically because I have the audiobook. The audiobook is less than an hour. Again, shorter than this program. Okay? Fantastic book. It talks about a simple scenario. When do you know when it's time to quit? And he gives this great analogy where there are dips and there are cul-de-sacs. Cul-de-sacs are those little roundabouts that are really popular here in the United States, particularly in suburban areas. I've lived by some cul-de-sacs where kids can like ride their bikes and then there's not as much traffic, et cetera, et cetera. But cul-de-sac, I think the term actually comes from the French. So I imagine there's a lot of cul-de-sacs over there. My Parisian folks, shout out to you. But if you know what a cul-de-sac is and you're from France, let me know. Dips are when you hit a certain limit and a certain friction point in the work that you're doing. You hit 100 episodes on uploading a podcast or doing something on one of the video platforms, and then suddenly your audience kind of flattens out. That could be a dip because you're about to go to the next level, but you've hit a dip and you need to level up in some form. That might be doing more research. That might be just waiting it out and being consistent. His book goes over those things. That's called the dip. That's a natural part of everything. Then there's a cul-de-sac. A cul-de-sac is another word for fancy word for a dead end. And you're on your proverbial bike. You go into the cul-de-sac and you're just going in circles because cul-de-sac is basically a circle with one exit. And you're not going anywhere. That's not a dip, that's a cul-de-sac. You're going to be hanging out there forever. When do you know when to let something go? I know in my case, even with this show, when I hit probably around 100 episodes of Bringing Worth TV, which was fairly soon, so I did a lot of episodes in the beginning. Probably the first year, I'd say, starting in December 2020. I'd say by late 2021, I had 100 episodes. So it was pretty soon. And things kind of plateaued. And I was doing even more episodes a week. Like I said, I was really grinding it out. The pandemic was we're deep in the pandemic. Homeschooling with my kids. If you if you see the earlier episodes, you'll literally hear my kids in the background. So these tiny voices. Now they're a lot older. All these things, and my audience just kind of went like this, and it was like that for another year until I want to say early 2023, and then suddenly the audience went like this, and I went from having about 1,000 subscribers to within a few months in the tens of thousands. Now there's about 18,000 of y'all that have subscribed. That was my dip. It's not as a flex. It's like that's like I'm here in Las Vegas, so I think of that analogy. That's like being in the middle of a desert. That's part of the creative process. I don't care how popular your show is. I don't care how motivated you are. I don't care how much money you got. I don't care how much money a publisher or a TV studio or whatever is giving you. You're going to hit some type of dip. That's kind of the way it works. Whitney Johnson, who had a show called Disrupt Yourself. I think she has a new show now, but shout out to Whitney. She always talked about it being a slingshot and all that work that you're putting in. If you think about a slingshot, you kind of lean back, and then before you know it, it takes off. And all that work that you put into it goes forward. You have no difference between the dip and a cul-de-sac. A dip is like a slingshot where you're just kind of getting more momentum, maybe learning more, and then you're going to take off again. But you're going to hit that. You're going to hit that valley. Cul-de-sac, it's not going anywhere. And that really, in my opinion, comes down to knowing what metrics matter. Now, it could be the amount of subscribers. It could be the amount of people that view a particular episode, which is different than subscribers. It could be the length that people are watching episode. Could be the amount of comments. It could be just being consistent and regularly doing episodes. It could be the amount of coaching clients I get by doing that episode. Like that was just spitballing. Anything that you do, there could be concrete metrics that you can run with. But if you're looking at the wrong metrics, quote unquote, that's what I mean by wrong, then you could be quitting too early because it's not working for you. Or you might quit right when it's really doing well for your career or your business. Fantastic book. If you want to go deeper into it, really early episode. All about the early episodes today. This has had to be like episode 20 or something. You're watching and hanging out with me on episode 407. So it had to be like episode 7 or something. When should I quit something? Early episode, you see me with a little bit more hair, a little bit less gray. Really short episode talking about when to quit something. And it talks about the dip. Also talks about Jerry Seinfeld and him ending the Seinfeld show. I have mixed feelings about Jerry Seinfeld. He's got a lot of issues, but he was right about this one. So it's worth checking out this episode and hearing me talk about that. When's the last time you struggled to quit something? Are you in the middle of the dip right now? Are you struggling to get things to the next level? It's worth reading the dip, but let me know in the comments if you happen to be in that situation. I don't have any situation like that at the moment, but there's a couple of projects that have been spinning around a little bit. You'll see them soon, but hopefully I'm not too deep into the dip with those. Again, my name is Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I'm an entrepreneurial coach for side hustle solopreneurs, otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs like yourself. You can watch Bring Your Worth TV live, Wednesdays at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time, as well as shorts and other extra episodes. Just subscribe. Subscribe on Twitch. Subscribe on Spotify, whatever works for you. The main channel is over at bringyourworth.tv. You can subscribe there. All the links are below.